The Rolex Submariner is one of the most iconic watches in the world. Whether you love it for the history of the watch, the mechanical movements and design, or just the sheer status symbol, it's one of the most recognizable watches in the world and one of the most sought after as well. So what if I told you you could have a Rolex Submariner for about $2 a day? Would you be interested in it? I'm going to go through it today. I hope you enjoy. How's it going, folks? My name's Marcus and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, on this channel I talk about EDC, technology, and anything that can help me live a happier, balanced, more productive life. So ever since I was a kid, I've always known the Rolex Submariner as a dream watch. I'm not sure how it came on my radar. Maybe it was the old James Bond films. Maybe it was just my dad was a diver and it was something that was on his radar as being a really luxury watch that you could use as a tool. But for me, it was always the kind of iconic watch that you aspired to have. Now in 2010, I just finished a 4-year project as an engineer. I'd worked 2 years in a design office and spent 2 years building this project on site. And when this project came to an end, I was surprisingly awarded some money. I won an engineering award in Ireland and I got about €5,000 for finishing that project and for winning that award. And I wanted to buy something iconic, something that would remind me that hard work pays off. And the only thing I could really think about was a timeless timepiece. And the Rolex Submariner was the only one for me. So I went into a store in Limerick, and the Rolex that I really wanted at the time was the previous generation. So this Rolex that I have now is the current generation of Rolex I'll go through the design details of this, but this is the new model that was updated in 2010. So not that new, it's still 12 years old. But when I went in to buy the watch, I actually preferred the previous generation. It has a different clasp on the back of it, and I was used to the old face design. This new face design was slightly bigger and has a ceramic bezel on it, whereas the old watch was a little bit smaller and was the one that I'd kind of coveted after for all this time. When I went into the store in Limerick, they had one of those, they had one last watch like that on hold, but someone had put a deposit on and they couldn't sell it to me. But it was in December of 2010. The store was going to be closing the next day and they really wanted to sell me one of these watches. The old version of the watch was selling for €4,950 at the time, and the new watch was selling for about €5,750 at the time. And I really didn't want the new watch, but I did want to buy a Rolex. And I tried and tried and tried to convince them to sell me the other version of the watch. And I'm so grateful that they didn't. What they did do for me though was sell me this brand new watch at the old Rolex price. So I was able to buy this Rolex. It just goes to show timing is everything with these things. End of year, end of quarter quotas really matter. So they were selling me this new watch, which was supposed to be €800 more expensive for the price of the old one. So I bought this, my dream watch, for €4,950 in 2010. And I still have everything that came with the watch the day that I bought it. I have this Rolex box. This is unboxing, 2010. The unboxing experience on a Rolex is something unique and it's incredibly premium. So when you open the box, the watch is sitting in front of you. Every Rolex owner gets all the paperwork that goes with their specific watch. I'm going to cover it here, but including serial numbers, all your paperwork on any time that you need to get it, explaining how to use your watch, but also any time that you decide and here's the original receipt, which is now really faded. But let's make sure I've got the number right in my head. Yes, exactly. So I've got a 1,000. So this is how I split it up at the time. €1,500 on one credit card and €3,450 on another credit card. And that's how I paid the watch at a jeweler's in Limerick at the time. I won't name the jewelers in case they get in trouble from Rolex for selling me this watch for a little bit cheaper than they should have. But the unboxing experience from these Rolex watches is unmatched. You really know you're buying a premium product. Looking at the box alone is just, it's a proper jewelry storage box that you get with these. Listen to that close. Really premium product. So let me tell you the things I love about this watch. I love the big face on it. I think it's the perfect size face on your wrist, or at least on my wrist. I love the links on it. The strap that comes with this watch I think is near perfect. The closing mechanism is secure. It's got a double clasp closing mechanism, which means it doesn't come off like it's harder for pickpockets to take it from you because they have to slip it off over your wrist. And I think that secure double mechanism really makes it feel safe on my wrist. I've never had it fall off my wrist or even have the second clasp pop open by accident. So it is a really secure clasp. I love that you have to change the date on it every time you hit a month that's only got 30 days in it. I love that you have to maintain it and get the date right. I think it's great that the time actually is imperfect. These are mechanical devices and they're not connected to an atomic clock. And they do change a little bit over time. And every couple of months, if you want to have perfect time on it, you're going to have to tweak that time, change it back a little bit. And the way that I feel, there's something kind of romantic about my life too, that maybe your life isn't fully in sync with the world around you. You know, maybe your time is a different time from other people. And I think just having that mechanical piece on your wrist is all the more important these days, where everything's electronic, where I work in software development and everything is precise. There's something nice about having an imprecise piece on your hand. And also with the design, I love the classic black on silver. There are other bezels you can get. They did a two-tone bezel in the 80s when everyone was going nuts on Wall Street for different colors. But for me, the classic black on silver is what makes this a Rolex Submariner, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I really like one of the things I love, in fact, this might be my favorite thing about it. I probably have two favorite things. One is that you can hear it hum ever so slightly when you put it up. It's got this high-pitched ooh when you put your ear to it as this piece works. So if you're lying on it at nighttime, you can kind of hear that. I don't know, there's something really magic about that, just hearing it whir away on your wrist all the time. The second thing though, and probably the thing I love the most, is watching the second hand turn around. It doesn't quite click, it's not quite completely seamless, it's something in between, but it seems to float around the dial, and it's just something that I've always been attracted to just watching. It is really calming, and really something really beautiful and elegant about this watch is the way that second hand just passes around the face of the watch. Once you put one of these on your wrist, when I went into the store to try these on, there's a real weight and presence to this watch. You know you're wearing it over any other watch. I wear a Apple Watch on my other wrist because I like to have the data tracking and the smartwatch capabilities of this, and I use my Rolex for time. I will wear this watch till the day that I die, and that's part of the reason why I actually like it so much. But there's something about having a perpetual movement, a mechanical device that gets charged by your movement as opposed to a battery. There's the romance of it moves with me every day, and the day that I stop moving, the watch will stop working and will go on to its next owner. It'll be sold and somebody else will wear it and the movement will work again. But there's something about it being charged from me being alive in my everyday activities that really makes this watch a little bit special for me. Now there's much cheaper mechanical perpetual movements that you can get out there that charge by you moving for $200, but this is definitely an aspect of this really premium luxury watch that I love. I like it doesn't have a battery, and I like that it charges from me moving every day. In terms of the style, it's absolutely classic. There's not many watches that you can wear every day that really go with whether you're in kind of slacks around the house clothes or you're dressed up in a three-piece suit or tuxedo, that really fits in both scenarios. And I do see this as a really kind of working watch in terms of it being a tool. It is a classic timepiece, but it also really looks glamorous when you have a tuxedo on or you have a suit on and you want to look sharp. But it also kind of blends in and looks natural in every scenario. And I think there's not many watches that are like that. There is maybe one other exception, which I think is the IWC Portuguese, another watch that I really, really love and admire from afar. But I will never sell this watch or probably ever buy another premium watch, because this is the watch I want to wear on my wrist for the rest of my life. Now I was trying to think, is there anything that I don't actually love about this watch? And really, I can't think of anything. I can usually think of all of my favorite things, something that I would change about it or make better. And with this watch, there really is nothing. Maybe if I was grasping at straws, there's one thing, which is at nighttime, kind of midway through the night when you get to 2 or 3 a.m., the luminescence on this watch is not very strong. It's actually quite hard to tell what the time is. Maybe I'm just used to having my Apple Watch on me, but at nighttime when I check the time, I'll often use my Apple Watch as opposed to using this watch because it is that much harder to see. So if they were able to update the luminescence on these hands at some stage, that would be great. I don't think I would bring the watch in and have it done, but I think the newer models, maybe they already have it. But that was one thing about this that, you know, it's not a deal breaker, but it's just a little bit harder to see at nighttime than, you know, our other electronic devices. One other thing about the watch faces, the hands used to have radioactive radium in them so that when they would light up at nighttime, you'd be able to see the hands. You would also get some unwanted radiation effects from it. Whereas thankfully today they've changed that. So now the watch hands light up without having any damage to your health. And the last thing I want to talk about is how I got this watch for about $2 a day. Would you pay $2 a day to wear a Rolex Submariner? This is how I did it. So I bought this watch for €4,950 back in 2010, which is about $5,435 back in 2010 money. Now, allowing for inflation over the last 12 years, that's about $7,071 in today's money. So $7,000 is what it cost me in today's money. In 2020, I needed to get it serviced. Rolex recommends you service these watches every 5 to 7 years, but when I hit the 7-year mark, there was nothing wrong with this watch still. Part of the service for them is that they clean up the strap, they give it a good look over. If you have any scratches or scuffs in it, they'll buff those out. They also open the watch up, have a little look inside and make sure all the timings and mechanical mechanisms are working well. But when I got to the 10-year mark, which was 2020, I did notice the watch was losing about 2 minutes in time a day, and I wanted them to tweak the watch and just get it back on track again. So I sent it in for a service, where they did all the things that I was telling you about, and they charged me $1,000, $1,050 in 2020 to do a service. It's not cheap, but you have to do it about every 10 years to keep this thing running smoothly. So that would mean $7,000 to buy it, plus another $1,050 to service it, brings me to about $8,120 total cost of ownership for 12 years for this Rolex Submariner, having bought it brand new almost the day that it came out. Now, I've had this watch for a total of 3,743 days today. So that means if you divide 8,000 by 3,743, it's about $2.20 a day. Now, if you asked me 12 years ago, would you be willing to spend $2 a day to get to wear a Rolex Submariner every single day for the rest of your life? And I absolutely would. And the thing is, as time goes on, this watch continues to get cheaper and cheaper for me day by day. So yes, I'll have to service it again in another 10 years time. But that means my watch will drop and drop and drop in terms of the total cost of ownership for me. And given it's the only timepiece I ever intend to use and keep on my wrist forever, that cost will continue to go down over time. Now, I did have a quick look online, and these watches are not selling for $7,000 these days. They're closer to $20,000, and that's another point that I make. I bought this watch for $8,000 12 years ago, and I'm almost certain that if I sold it today, I would make about $10,000. So I would definitely not lose any money on it. I might break even. I might even make some money, depending on the condition of the watch at that time. The fact that I still have the case, all the paperwork, the original receipts, and the identification card makes it worth even more money. So doing things like that, being thoughtful when you buy a timepiece like this, being careful with all the things that go along with it, and really documenting all that stuff, think of it like a house or a car. It really is something that over time you could actually I could get to, if I ever decide, which I doubt I will, in 10 years time, that I no longer want to have this Rolex, I could sell it and at least break even so that it's been free to me to use this watch this entire time. And that's it. That's how you can have a Rolex watch for just over $2 a day, and that's why, for me, this is the most iconic and best watch that I will ever have, and I intend to wear this watch until the day that I stop moving and its movement stops keeping time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Catch you in the next one. Good luck.